Hey everybody, welcome to Life in Calgary, Alberta. I'm your host Patrick Murray, and today we're talking about the latest and greatest real estate stats, telling you what's going on with the real estate market in Calgary, Alberta as of right now. So stay tuned. But before we do that, if this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything there is about what it's like to eat, sleep, breathe, live, and play in Calgary, Alberta, then please just hit that subscribe button and click that little bell so you get notified every single time I release a new video. Now I have to tell you, I've lived in several major centers in my adult life, but I ended up staying in Calgary because it's a great city. And this is way back, guys, way back in 2001. But not only that, I've been a realtor here since 2010, and all of this means I have some specialized knowledge about the city of Calgary and the surrounding bedroom communities. So if you are considering a move to the city of Calgary or one of these bedroom communities and you'd like some assistance to purchase a home, please feel free to reach out to me. Send me a text, an email, or a phone call. I will absolutely get back to you. Okay, guys, let's do this. Let's talk about what's going on in the real estate market right now, right after this. All right, so we're going to jump in. We're going to start by looking at the City of Calgary detached sector of the market. Now, these are the latest statistics. Yes, we're in July, but these are stats as of the end of June 2024. So July isn't finished, so naturally we don't have all of the data for July as of yet. So the end of June 2024 is the latest and greatest data that we have. And we're talking about benchmark pricing, and what that means is that benchmark pricing is a far more stable way of discussing pricing as opposed to looking at median or average pricing. And I mention this in every video that I do like this. And the reason why is because the data can be skewed from month to month, depending on what's going on in the market. So if we had an unusual amount of higher end sales in a month, that would skew the data. If we had an unusual amount of lower price sales in a month, that would skew the data. And it wouldn't be very stable to look at pricing. It would be very confusing. So we look at something called benchmark pricing, which is a far more stable way of looking at pricing. And it takes into account every single neighborhood within the city of Calgary and puts them together to average out what the benchmark price is throughout the entire city. So looking at those less expensive sales and those higher price sales to come up with the price points that we have here. And that's what we're discussing. So let's jump in without further ado. First off, we're going to look at this benchmark price down here. And it says the benchmark price for a detached home at the end of June is $767,600. Now, this is up 0.76% from May, and it's up year to year over 12% to 12.04% from June of last year. Now, before we continue on, we're going to jump up top here just a little bit and look at this listing absorption rate, which is 72%. You can see this chart kind of shows, the listing absorption rate discusses where it is. So over 50% is a seller's market, between 30 and 50% is balance, and below 30% is a buyer's market. You can see this absorption rate is right in the middle of the seller's market, 72%. So it is a strong seller's market. This means as of June 2024, we had 1,775 listings for sale and 1,278 or 72% of those listings sold in June 2024. So we are in seller's market territory. Now let's come back down to this benchmark price chart. And we'll look at last June. You can see the benchmark price was $685,100. And here we are sitting at this $767,600. Now let's look at January of this year. We were just over $700,000 at $701,500. And over the few months, we've gone up to $767,600. So very telling. The dark colors represent prices going up. The blue, a pullback in the market that particular month, but you can see prices have been trending upwards pretty well all along. And from January to now, it's certainly jumped, and from last year to now, it certainly jumped as well. Now we'll look at the 10-year benchmark price chart down below here, and you can see in 2015 the benchmark price was $516,933. A little bit of pullback 2016, up in 2017, pullback 2018, 2019. And then prices started to improve in, of all times, the pandemic in 2020. So it was 482 roughly in 2019, then jumped to 483 in 2020. And then we just never looked back. So we were 549,800 in 2021, which is above that 2015 prices, which was the previous high on this chart. And then you can see we were up to 629,350 in 2022, 675, 783 in 2023. Now, this says in 2024 we're 740,867, and that's because, well, 2024 isn't finished. So what it's doing is averaging out January, February, March, April, May, and June of this year already. But really, if you look at where we're at right now in the market, we're at 767,600 for the benchmark price. Now we'll come down here and look at the actives and solds, and you can see we've, again, just to better demonstrate that listing absorption rate with the actives at 1775 and the solds at 1278. Now, what's interesting, the active listings are up 11.22% from May. Yet month to month, the solds are down 7.73% from May. And if we look from year to year, the amount of actives are up 7.51% from June of 2023, but down 16.2% in the number of solds from last year. So what does this say? Well, this says that there's been less activity in the market is what this means. And that's very telling. And why is that? I don't know. It's interesting. Is this a turning point in the market? We'll have to wait and see and look what happens in the following months. But I can tell you that this is far below long-term averages. So we are still very much in a seller's market. And then we can look at this days on market chart. Currently sitting in June at 19 days. Last year we were sitting at 20. In May we were 18. And we've kind of been around 20, 19, 18, 20 the last few months. So that's kind of where that is. And down at the bottom here, this is the market distribution, if you will. So the majority of the solds have been in that $600,000 to $700,000 range, followed by that $700,000 to $800,000 range, followed by that $500,000 to $600,000 range, followed by the $800,000 to $900,000 range, and then that $1 to $1.5 million range, and so on and so forth. So now we're going to look at the City of Calgary semi-detached sector of the market. And for those of you that are wondering, well, what's semi-detached mean? Well, it's kind of like a duplex, if you will. And let me tell you, Calgary has some very nice duplexes as well. So again, taking into account everything throughout the city, we can look here at our listing absorption rate is 77.67%, meaning there were 300 listings available for sale in June. It's not very many in this sector of the market. And 233 of them, or 77.67% of those listings, sold in June. And so we're in the middle of that seller's market. So we're in a strong seller's market here. And now we'll pop down to the benchmark price sitting at $686,100 as of the end of June. This is up 1.19% from last month, and year over year up 12.24% from June of last year. Now we can look at this listing absorption rate, or pardon me, this 13-month market history chart. You can see last June, the benchmark price was $611,000 roughly, and here we are at $686,100. And, it's trended up. So in January, it was $621, and here we are at $686 as well. So it kind of gives you a bit of an idea. Now we'll look at the benchmark price chart. 2015 prices were $412,800 in this sector of the market. And then in 2021 really took off. We were up to 505,000. Then 2022, 566,000. 2023, 604,000. Again, June is not over. So, or pardon me, 2024 is not over. So we're 658,550 if you average January to June of this year. But really, we're sitting at $686,100 as of right now. And just to further demonstrate that absorption rate, 300 actives, 233 solds. Now, if we look at the actives month over month, this is up in the amount of actives, 10.29% from May. So that's good, a little more inventory, and year over year up 11.94% from last year. And if we look at month to month solds, we're down 10.04% from last month, and year over year down 2.92% from last month. So again, less activity in the market. So interesting. We wonder what that means, and we'll have to wait and see. I think it's a little too early to tell. But we also know that this is far below long-term averages. So we've still got a long ways to go, and we are still in the midst of a very strong seller's market. Now, days on market chart, 18 days in June, 17 in May, 22 in April, 21 in March. We can look at June of last year was 19, so fairly comparable to last year and last month. And we can look at the market distribution here. The benchmark, or pardon me, the majority of sales were in that $500,000 to $600,000 range, followed by that $600,000 to $700,000, followed by that $400,000 to $500,000 range, and so on and so forth. And now we're going to jump in and look at the City of Calgary row housing. So row housing, for those of you unfamiliar with that term, is means townhouses, if you will. So let's take a look at our benchmark price, sitting at $464,600. Now, this is up 0.45% from last month and year over year up 16.94% from June of last year. The listing absorption rate is 88.8%, which means we had 491 listings available, 436 of those sold, which is 88.8% of those. And you can see here that we are in a very strong seller's market at just below 90% here. So this is a strong sector of the market. And now let's look at the benchmark price trend over the last 13 months. So June of last year, the benchmark price is just under 400,000 at 397,300. We can look at January when it was 424,300. Here we are at 464,600 right now. And just one little pullback in December. We expect pullbacks in the winter because there's less activity going on and there's more availability in properties, generally speaking, but not so much the last little while. So prices usually trend upwards. So a little pullback here, not a big deal. Sorry, let's look at this benchmark price trend for the past 10 years here. 2015 prices in this sector of the market, 323,000 in 2015. And then you see we had a real pullback in 2016 through 2020. Now, I can tell you that city of Calgary was and Alberta was having some hard economic times during that time when the rest of the country was doing very well. We weren't. And so while everybody else's prices were skyrocketing, our prices were pulling back. So in a way, we are playing catch up. Yes, these prices are shocking for Calgarians. For people that live in Calgary, the prices have risen dramatically. It's a hard pill to swallow. However, if you compare against other major centers in Canada and in all product types here, we're still very affordable by comparison. And so those moving from other larger centers that come to Calgary to realize a better way of life are not flabbergasted by our prices. For them, this is pretty good stuff. So you can see right now, in 2021 we were 309, which is still lower than 2015 prices. We went way down, and then we jumped up to 335, so we were above those 2015 prices, and then 355, I should say, guys. And then we were just under 400,000 at the end of 2023 and currently sitting at 447,617 for the total year, again, taking into account January through June, but really we're at 464,600 right now as of the end of June. Now, this listing absorption rate just further demonstrated here by the amount of actives at 491, the amount of solds 436. So that's a lot of activity. But let's look at the actives month over month. This number is up 15.8% from May. So that's good. We need more product to sell because we need people in homes. Year over year, it's up 16.08 from June. So you can see that we've got more product on the market, but the amount of sales is down. So month over month, we're down 19.26% from May, and year over year, we're down 16.79% from June of last year. So it's a similar tale to the other product types that we've already discussed. We've had less activity in the market, but again, we're still well below long-term averages in supply. So we're still very much within that very strong seller's market right now. And the days on market chart sitting at 18 days, comparable to May and April, March even. June of last year, it was 19, so it's still fairly comparable all around. And we look at the market distribution, the majority of the sales coming in at $400,000 to $500,000 range in the sector of the market, followed by that $500,000 to $600,000 range, followed by that $300,000 to $400,000 range, and so on and so forth. And at last, we're going to look at the City of Calgary apartment sector of the market. Let's go down and look at the benchmark price first off, sitting at $344,700. This is up 1.23% from May. So last month, and year over year, this is up 17.48% from last year. So even though we've seen a decline the amount of activity, our prices have continued to increase again because we are still well below long-term averages and what we would normally see in supply. So the benchmark, the listing absorption rate here is 64.78%. Now, this is much more relaxed than it has been for some time. So as of June 2024, we had 1,221 listings available with 691 of them selling, or 64.78% of them. Now, going back to this benchmark price chart, we can see it's all black. So it's been going up all year long. So last June, the benchmark price was $293,400. In January, it was $314,700. And here we are sitting at $344,700. And we can look at the 10-year benchmark price chart. Now, again, just reflecting what I said about townhouses, even more so when it came to apartment condominiums, we had an oversupply. So when I say oversupply, I mean we had a 10-month supply of properties within the market. So that means it would take 10 months to sell out of the current supply. And here we are, selling out much, much, much more quickly. So you can see we had some lean months here. It was 292, pardon me, lean years, I should say. The benchmark price in 2015 was 292,000 roughly, and then 250,000 in 2021 when prices finally started to rebound a little bit. 2022, we were up to 271,975. Took us to last year, 302,000 benchmark price to finally get ahead of that 2015 figure. And here we are as of June, as of 2024 right now. If you average January to June at 337.50, but really last month we were at $344,700. And again, just looking at that listing absorption rate, the 1,221 actives and the 791 sold. So let's get into the actives right now. Month over month, this is up 10% from last month, and year over year up 9.41%. So there is more supply, but activity, the amount of sales, is down. So we're at down month to month 12.89% from last month, and year to year down 7.7%. So again, as I said, we're seeing less activity in the market, but that hasn't affected prices, and that's because we're still well below long-term averages for supply. So we're still very much in a seller's market. Average days on market sitting at 23 in June, comparable to May, April, and March. And last year we were sitting at 28 days, so selling a little faster than last June if you look at 28 versus 23. And then the market distribution, the majority of sales coming in at $300,000 to $400,000 range, followed by that $200,000 to $300,000 range, followed by that $400,000 to $500,000 range, so on and so forth.
So like I said, if you are considering a move to the city of Calgary or one of the surrounding bedroom communities, and you would like some assistance to purchase a home, please feel free to reach out to me, send me a text, an email, or a phone call. I will absolutely get back to you so you can live your life in Calgary, Alberta.